Have you ever been in a test, palms sweaty, nervous you're going to circle the wrong answer? If so, you're not alone. You are probably taking a standardized test, and standardized tests do not test what you think they do. Diane Ravitch once said that sometimes the most brilliant and intelligent of minds do not shine in standardized tests because they do not have standardized minds. This quote is so true. If we're all different as learners and as individuals, why are we being tested and assessed the same? There are strong arguments against standardized testing. In the 2015 book, The Test, written by Kamenetz, he argues that standardized testing penalizes diversity. This is true because we're all different, but we're being tested and assessed the same. That doesn't seem very fair. The author gives the impression that standardized testing is a waste of time for both teachers and students, as teachers will just teach to the test and students will just regurgitate memorized definitions and answers. Standardized testing also creates stress and anxiety in the lives of students and parents, as students need to get a certain grade on a standardized test to pass, when maybe they know a lot of answers, but they're just not that type of learner. Showing what you know should not be stressful. It should be exciting. And standardized tests do not cater to the needs of individual students. And the general sentiment of learners when they hear about standardized tests is panic. How would you feel as a student who needs accommodations that you cannot get accommodations for a test because it wouldn't be fair to the other students who do not need these accommodations? If you're a kinesthetic learner and you have to take a standardized test, how would you feel? How would you feel needing to sit through 1 hour of testing when you can't even sit through 1 hour of lessons? If you need to stand up and move, talk about your learning, do different things of that nature, you should be allowed to. If that's how you learned, that should be how you're being assessed. Students are not involved in their own assessment as they should be when it comes to standardized tests. When teachers teach to the test, students just regurgitate memorized terms. Students will never be able to show what they have learned in the way that they learned it by forcing them to take pen and paper standardized exams. The book, The Myths About Standardized Tests, Why They Don't Tell You What You Think They Do, picks on the idea that roughly 45 questions on a test cannot possibly be an accurate representation of student knowledge. Tests only tell us as much as we allow them to. And if students learn in a certain way, they should be tested in that way. Or at least students should be allowed to tell us what they know instead of circling answers or recognizing words on an exam. In the province of Saskatchewan, many students take the PISA test at the age of 15. This test causes stress to many students, but it also frames entire education systems in a negative light. And it also shows and makes assumptions of student achievement based on stereotypes. The C.D. Howe Institute claims that Saskatchewan's low ranking on the PISA test was because of our high concentration of Indigenous students in our province and in our schools. I argue against this idea, as even though standardized testing is not good for standardized and student assessment, it can give evidence of school quality and resources in a school. So perhaps those students were tested and actually knew the content, but didn't actually have the resources to say what they knew, because standardized testing does not allow for traditional ways of knowing to shine through. If students learn traditionally, they should be assessed traditionally. Standardized testing does not allow for diversity in our classrooms, and it just reproduces negative stereotypes. My final point is that in Saskatchewan, standardized testing does not fit the needs of every learner. Standardized testing in Saskatchewan also appears in the form of departmental exams. These are exams given to grade 12 students in rural Saskatchewan who do not have accredited teachers. These exams can account for up to 40% of a student's grade and are roughly 50 questions long. Students aren't always used to the way that standardized exams are formulated, and they may not have experience with standardized tests, but we're giving them a test worth 40% of their grade, so I mean, it's fair, right? Wrong. Students in rural Saskatchewan have a different worldview than students in urban Saskatchewan, and students of northern Saskatchewan have a different worldview of students of southern Saskatchewan. So why are we giving everyone the same exam? Some teachers might just teach differently than others. Some teachers might spend more time on one area than others, yet we're giving them 50 questions and it should be fine. I think not. Standardized testing needs to stop. Standardized testing does not allow for different people to express their learning in different ways. One of the arguments for standardized testing is that standardized testing allows us to express or to see the quality of schools. I think that perhaps a direction we need to move into is standardized tests to see what resources schools need. So an assessment of schools, but not an assessment of students. Standardized tests do have their place, but not on a student report card. Not on a final grade. Assessments should be individual, such as learning, and such as our individual students. Thank you so much for listening to my rant.